Hey everybody, in this video I'll be discussing the full moon in Leo on February the 12th, 2025. The full moon basically is when the moon is at its brightest. The moon represents feelings, and so once a month a full moon can really release a lot of pent-up, bottled up emotions and feelings. You might be feeling for a day or two out of control, very reactive, very emotional. But it depends on what sign it's in, where it's impacting in your individual horoscope. This full moon, it's going to be in a hard angle to Uranus. Uranus is the planet of disruption, of rebellion, the unexpected, also innovation. But let's just start with the full moon in Leo, the themes of Leo. And the full moon, you might be feeling it for several days, but it's strongest on February the 12th. The themes of Leo are self-expression, creativity, romance, playfulness, your own personal pride. Now, Leo is ruled by the sun. So this full moon encourages us to step into the spotlight, to embrace your individuality, and to seek recognition. Especially Leo wants to have all that, to be the best, to feel a great deal of pride, to shine. And just some of the things with the full moon in Leo once a year. So it's just bringing to the maximum those qualities of Leo. So in the positive, increased confidence, emotional intensity, creative energy, generosity, heartfelt conditions, but it's really good for release. And there's often, depending on your individual chart, full moons will often, with all that emotional release, can often be a time of letting go, of testing relationships. So if you have a weak relationships, it might be feeling very vulnerable during the full moon. And this one being in Leo, Leo can represent romance. Leo can represent children. Now, this full moon in Leo is going to be squaring Uranus in Taurus. Now, the square is a 90-degree angle. So if you look, I'm going to put the charts up on the screen where the moon is forming a 90-degree angle to Uranus on one side. On the opposite side is the sun, and it's also forming a 90-degree angle to Uranus. So this full moon, which is releasing all this pent-up energy, this bringing everything to an emotional head, is all being funneled and channeled through Uranus. Uranus can be the rebellious, the unexpected, the disruptive. So a full moon in Leo squaring Uranus brings sudden emotional breakthroughs or disruptions, also urging bold expression while confronting unexpected changes in stability and resources. A full moon to Uranus, and we've been having some new moons and other full moons in these last couple of months all around triggering Uranus. So there's been a pattern and a theme in these recent months. There's been a lot of disruption, a lot of tragedies. Now, what's interesting, just on an aside, with the airplane and helicopter tragedy in Washington, D.C., it was on the day that Uranus went direct. Uranus goes retrograde every year, like Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, they all go, Venus, they all go retrograde for a certain amount of time. And it's a resetting, or it's a like a pulling deep within or a resetting. And then when a planet, whatever that planet represents, goes direct, it can often release a tremendous amount of energies. And Uranus in astrology represents aviation, as well as technology and protesting and rebellion. But this was an airline tragedy, and Uranus is associated with aviation. Now, before I get into these individual charts for Washington, D.C., and for Los Angeles, California, if you enjoy these kinds of videos and would like to see more of them, click like and subscribe. And don't forget to click on the notification bell so you can receive the latest postings. All right, let's start with Los Angeles, because I talked about the new moon chart in Aquarius last time, 2 weeks ago. And I was discussing how you see all this explosiveness financially. But now, if we look at the full moon for Los Angeles, again, how I do that is I know through my software that the full moon on February the 12th was going to be at exactly 5:55 a.m. Pacific time. Then I just put in the coordinates into my astrology software. I put in the coordinates for Los Angeles. And then that shoots out the full moon horoscope for the Los Angeles area. And so here's this full moon is forming a T-square to Uranus. Uranus is that T-square is pointing to the bottom of the chart. And the bottom is the foundation. It's the land. It can represent the people. But this full moon is starting to really bring to a head a tremendous amount of release of all this shock going on with the land. But one of the big things that has to get starting to get in motion, and it's only just slowly beginning to set up, is how to clear away all the debris and to really protect the air in Los Angeles from all the toxicity before they, to start getting rid of clearing the land so there can start being rebuilding for people who want to get, can really start to rebuilding their homes. So there's the full moon for Los Angeles, all pointing on liberating, breakthrough, disruptive Uranus on the fourth house of the land. Now, let's look at the chart for Washington, D.C. And in this chart, you see the T-square is pointing to the second house sector of the chart. The moon is entering into the sixth house. In political or mundane astrology, this sixth house can just in basic astrology for the individual, the sixth house deals with work, deals with body maintenance. So in a political or mundane chart, mundane charts can be dealing with, economics and environment, and it's all this more impersonal. So this full moon for Washington, D.C., the moon is a major focus point where a lot of issues are going to be coming out to light and being very emotional. The sixth house can then represent a lot of sudden disruptions in labor policies, because the sixth house of work, public service, because the sixth house in the individual chart is the sector of service, or healthcare, which is the sixth house politically, but with the Uranus triggering economic instability, potentially leading to protests or financial reforms. The sun of the Washington, D.C. chart is opposite the moon, so the sun is entering into the 12th house. And you'll see there's the sun, Mercury, Saturn, North Node, Neptune. So there is 5 planets, which is a lot. It's an unusual amount of lineup, of huge emphasis in the 12th house. There's the 12 signs of the zodiac. It's each section is called a house. So there's the 12 signs, there's the 12 houses. Each house represents a different domain of life. And the 12th house, on the most positive, is philanthropy and charity. But the 12th house can also represent things that are hidden and secretive, and all of that with the full moon could be coming to light. And that full moon is forming a T-square to rebellious, disruptive Uranus in the second house of income. So there's going to be a lot of unstable economic reforms, a lot of financial reactions, a lot of ups and downs. Now, as we're looking at this Washington, D.C. chart, we're also having Mars is still retrograde, so there's still a lot of frustrations trying to accomplish any work tasks. But for the Washington, D.C. chart, it has an Aries rising. And Aries it can trigger all this aggressiveness and ambition and fighting. But Aries is ruled by Mars. So Mars becomes the ruling planet, the ruling energy for those several days. And this full moon could be very much in effect for up to 2 weeks, which is then the next new moon starting another lunar cycle. So Mars can represent the military, can represent police and conflict, and on the worst case scenario, violence. And this Mars is the ruling planet for Washington, D.C.'s full moon chart. And the Mars is particularly frustrated, being still this delayed energy, still being in retrograde. Mars will go direct, thank God, on February the 23rd. Mars goes retrograde once every 2 years. Now, having the Mars frustrated, and it can be dealing with tension and violence and protesting and military, some of the possibilities that Mars is in the 4th house of the political chart for Washington, D.C. And the 4th can represent landowners, agriculture, workers on the land. But basically, it's opposite the top of the chart, which is the leader. It's the government that's taking charge. So the opposite of the leader are the people. So the 4th house can also represent the common people. And there's Mars in retrograde, so the common people are going to be feeling really frustrated, and a lot of secrets are being revealed, and a lot of this economic stability with the Uranus in the 2nd house of income could be a roller coaster of a lot of reactions to maybe the stock market, to a lot of governmental policies. And a lot of it's going to be with the full moon in Leo in the 6th house, as I already mentioned. And so in basic individual astrology, the 6th house deals with your job, it deals with your health maintenance, and it deals with being of service to others. And so in this political chart, having this really intense, unpredictable, disruptive full moon being focused on the 6th house, that can be these disruptions with labor and with the Mars in the 4th house. Like just the common people are being really frustrated. So there could, and with the Uranus, there could certainly start being a lot of protesting. So the moon in the 6th could certainly represent a lot of anxiousness and irritability with the workers, with the labor force. And there's certainly going to be a lot of problems if all of the undocumented workers, the migrant workers who are picking all of the fruits and vegetables, if there's nobody to pick the agriculture, that's going to really cause prices to go really high and people getting really upset. So there's going to be a lot of disruption with the labor market. There's the 6th house. But the 6th house dealing with your own body maintenance in a political chart, it's all about the health care. And there's going to be a lot of disruption, particularly if the funding there's going to be a lot of cutting of resources that could impact Medicaid, and then all of these other funds that go to support a lot of these programs for people. If a lot of that is being cut, then there's going to be a lot of this shock and upset. Now, I know I'm saying a lot of nervousness, but keep in mind, this full moon chart is only lasting for a couple of days. Maybe the remnants are happening up for 2 weeks until the next new moon cycle. So basically, I just think that this full moon chart for Washington, D.C. is just starting to explode everything that's going on behind the scenes and repressed, because that heavy 12th house could be a lot of this things that are hidden or secretive, that it's all, being released. But this is not the theme for the whole year. This is just a lot of this protesting and anger is being released and coming to light. And those signs that are going to be most affected will be the full moon in Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio. These are also called in astrology the fixed signs. Fixed signs can be loyal and persevering, but fixed signs just do not like change. And to have a powerful full moon triggering rebellious, explosive Uranus, there's going to be tremendous stress to the fixed signs. So if you have any planets or your sun rising sign in one of these fixed signs, you may be feeling for those couple of days around the 12th a lot of anxiousness. I want to thank you for watching. If you'd like information on how to book an astrology reading or to check out my 2-question offer, visit my website at gardino.co. That's .co. Until next time, be safe and well.